stimulate each other's thinking and awareness, and to help people better understand this interesting area of CBD. I found a book that I am 2/3 of the way through that is called Healing with CBD. I got it on Amazon for like $12. The author is Eileen Konitschzink. She's a nurse who has been very focused in this area. And the part that I found so far the most interesting is the receptor system that we have, which is called the endocannabinoid system. And this doctor reports that in a study he did as recently as 2013, only 13% of the 157 accredited American Medical Association medical schools had this mentioned in their curriculum. So this is something that's on the fringes. I believe, there's been a lot of interest in marijuana for ages, but because of the political nature of the issue of the high, I think that the medical industry has been hesitant to give any credibility, and so there wasn't a lot of studies. But there's about a half a dozen or so quotes in here that I want to read to just give the flavor and the picture. And the first starts off with a big picture. It says, the discovery of the endocannabinoid system, or ECS, is the single most important scientific method discovery since the recognition of sterile surgical technique. Makes it sound pretty big, right? It says that the endogenous cannabinoid system is an extensive network of neurons, neural pathways, receptors, cells, molecules, and enzymes that work tirelessly throughout your body to maintain a state of homeostasis within your internal environment, despite fluctuations in the external environment. And I've read a lot of things that kind of refer to the fact that we create CBD compound inside of our body, but there are often deficiencies because of the soil nutrition, because of the diets in modern society, because of all the stresses and things that we have. There's more demand being put on our system, and our body isn't necessarily keeping up with it, which is causing some of the problems. It says it's not just these receptors that pick up the CBD directly. It says that the ECS interacts robustly with other non-cannabinoid systems like the endorphin system, the immune system, the valinoid system, which is responsible for changing your pain from acute to chronic. And it modulates these systems. ECS regulates inflammation, pain, bone health, formation of new nerve cells, fat and sugar processing, mood, energy, brain health, and hormonal balance. So there's all these bodily functions that are going on that think about CBD as being a portion like the thermostat on your heating and air conditioning system. It's trying to keep you in that comfort zone, and it regulates all of these other systems. So, as I mentioned, there are really two distinct types of these cannabinoids. The endogenous ones are the ones that are produced inside of our body, and the phyto ones are the ones that come from the plants, hemp or marijuana. I still don't fully comprehend the difference between CBD that comes from hemp and that comes from cannabis. some people seem to make a distinction on that, so that's an area that I want to learn more about. But a couple more quotes here. The reason that phytocannabinoids are important from a health perspective is that unlike the endocannabinoids, the ones our body produces, there are no enzymes present in the body that can immediately break down the phytocannabinoids, and therefore the effects last much longer. When consuming cannabis-based medicines, the body gets much higher levels of cannabinoids than it can produce, which results in a more therapeutic effect. So it sounds as though the stuff that's made by the plant is not getting broken down as much inside of our body, so it can have more of an effect from a therapeutic standpoint. Talks about an entourage effect that is coming. So what we know is that in the full spectrum CBD oil, there are more than 100 compounds. 2 of those compounds are widely known and broadly understood. One of them is the THC, which is the part of marijuana that gets you high, and the other is the CBD oil. But there are these other 104 or whatever other compounds that really have had very little study, but they believe that there's a lot of interactive effects from the different compounds, and is one reason that full spectrum CBD may have more beneficial effects. 2 more things I have tagged here. One just goes through, it says, in summary, we know that the endocannabinoid system, with the help of cannabinoids and the receptor imparts, they impact sleep, appetite, digestion, and hunger, mood, motor control, the immune function, the reproduction and fertility function, pleasure and reward, pain and inflammation, memory, temperature regulation, and neurogenesis, which is the growth and development of nervous tissues. Sounds like a pretty broad spectrum of things important to health and life. I mean, you know, this is certainly something that, to the degree we are out of balance, we are not at that right homeostasis level, and we can get the benefit of helping reinforce what our body is inadequately producing, can make some significant difference in people's lives. And the last quote that I wanted to read is that it says, this once again is talking about CBD oil, it says, instead of management of symptoms after disease has occurred, with a better understanding of the endocannabinoid system, we would hope to prevent disease and cancer from by manipulating this ECS. And so this is much more of a proactive approach to keeping your body's system where it needs to be, as opposed to trying to come in after the fact and address shortfalls. So I will caution and say, this is written by a nurse. This is not a bunch of scientific study. I read one place that it said there were 168 clinical studies that have been going on so far on CBD oil. So when you hear there's no studies, that's not really accurate. But I think when we understand that it is only when this system within our body that regulates so much has not even been on the core curriculum of the medical schools, except a few of them, you know, since 2013, it just speaks to how recent this is. Most of medicine we have more fully understood for 50, 100 years. And so this is an emergent technology and is an area that is of great interest. So that was one thing that I wanted to share. A second thing that someone asked me to share, I put links on the meetup site about an event that's happening February 24th in Media, Pennsylvania. The Soulful Cannabis, which is Diversity, Community, and Opportunity group, is having a medical marijuana education and registration event. It sounds to me as though a key component of this is they're trying to get people registered for their Pennsylvania medical marijuana card. And so it's a place where people can come. But it also says learn from medical professionals, parents, and patients. There will be conversations with dispensaries and grower processors. It is a free event. It's going to be open from 10 to 4, and a person could sign up if they have interest. As I said, we put information on this event on the meetup site. I have signed up. I will probably attend. We'll see what's happening on Sunday, February 24th. But that clearly is more about the whole marijuana side, medical marijuana, as opposed to CBD oil. But it is something that is of interest to me because the interaction between this THC stuff and the non-THC stuff and how that happens with the interaction of our receptors. But that was all information that I have. Barbara, was there anything that you intended to bring up and share this evening?
I didn't really have anything specific, just what had been gone over in our group that we had for the CBD 2.0. And I just thought it was interesting. They were talking about what you were saying, the difference between hemp oil and CBD oil. And they were saying that the main difference is just the amount of THC, So CBD is exactly the same, whether it's extracted from the hemp or the marijuana plant. And no matter what plant it comes from, the main difference is the amount of...
In other words, is what I think you've just said, from a phytocannabinoid standpoint, sourced from the hemp or whether it's sourced from the marijuana, that the CBD oil portion of it compound is the same.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So, and then what was said was a full spectrum of hemp oil will contain a variety of cannabinoids, terpenes, flavonoids, vitamins, etc. However, the amount of THC is the determining factor between the two products. So hemp-based CBD contain about 0.3 THC or less, and then marijuana-based will contain 0.31% THC or more. And the amount of THC in hemp products is not enough to make you high or give you any type of head change. So when you're discussing a CBD oil, it's always best to ask for clarification if you're talking about from hemp or marijuana. The answer is one of the key indicators as to the amount of THC. So
one of the things that I've heard is that how it's processed, how they're stripping out the THC,
yes,
can make a huge difference in the quality of what's left. I've heard this is where too little information can make you dangerous. I have heard there is potentially some advantage to a low heat extraction method as opposed to a higher heat. And I know some are using other chemicals to be able to strip out the THC. But I think that part of what one would question is if CBD oil is this combination of 100 and whatever different compounds, what happens to all of these other compounds? It's one thing to just look at what happens to the THC or to the CBD, but a lot of these other things that are in CBD oil can have an impact on our total system, particularly as it relates, if we think about the analogy of that temperature control of our heating and cooling system, one of the things that, for example, it was suggesting that CBD regulates, if you're catching the flu, body naturally increases the temperature of your body. That's why you get a fever, because it's trying to negatively interact with the virus. And the CBD is that control mechanism that identifies when your body is past the point of needing to be at that higher temperature, and it regulates, So I think they called it a retrograde effect, is identifying that point at which it needs to shift back the balance of these immune systems and of the other systems that it's working with.
Yeah.
Oh, Tracy, nice to see you've made it on the call.
Well, did either of you, Tiz or Tracy, have anything that you wanted to add to this discussion right now? Like, I know, Tiz, do you want to talk a little bit about what you would be intending to use it for, or why you wanted to learn more? I know you said you had specific ailments. Did any of these that we talked about pertain to you, or was it helpful?
Yeah, all the information was helpful. It's a lot of things I didn't know that specifically needed for my IBS symptoms. I currently use marijuana because that seems to be the only thing that helps, because the medicine doesn't help when I'm having pain. And also I need it for my back pain and that I've been dealing with, and different pains throughout my body. So, but yeah, this was very good information, because there's a lot of stuff I didn't know, because I'm just learning about CBD oil.
Yeah. Excellent.
I will mention, you talked about pain. It was interesting to me that one of the articles or book segments that I was reading in the last week, it stuck out to me. It mentioned that the receptors, the CDB2 receptor that CBD oil, impacts at the cellular level, is the same receptor that Tylenol impacts. And so when they talk about pain management, this is a natural method rather than a synthetic compound method of stimulating that receptor and causing specific action. I was just interested when they said, hey, that's the place that Tylenol hits.
Yeah, that is interesting. Because it's funny, because I was going to physical therapy for back pain and knee pain, but I did start using marijuana around that time, and my pain went away. And they weren't sure why I needed physical therapy, but that's because my pain went away because of the marijuana. So that's why I was hoping to try to get either medical marijuana or the CBD oil to see if that continues to help.
Yeah, definitely. So what were you looking into with the CBD? Anything specific, like a specific kind, or you were just kind of just researching what was out there?
Yeah, just researching what's out there.
Yeah. Okay. And how about you, Tracy? Did you have something to add to our conversation?
I'm just trying to learn about this stuff and get information. I mean, do you guys sell it, or what is it exactly that you guys how have you tried a bunch of brands? Anything that works better than others?
Well, I have not personally tried anything. We started this group to kind of learn more about other people's experiences with it, because I'm a health educator. I have a background in the health sciences. I have a doctorate, and Jay and I both are part of a company that is a nutraceuticals based company, and our company will be releasing something a CBD related product in the near future. But we are just kind of trying to find out as much as we can about it, so that we can see what the need is, what research is out there, all of that, and how people are currently using it. So,
and we're trying to understand the efficacy level. Unfortunately, tonight there's a small crowd. The last time we were on, there was, I don't know, 15 people or so, and we had several people that were talking about their personal experience with CBD oil. Some of it positive, some of it not positive, and that's kind of what we're trying to understand. In the end of the day, we are interested in learning about people who have found it to be helpful in their life. We're interested in learning more about the specific product that they're using, and the form that they're using, and that the specific level. Different products are going to have different levels of absorption. They're going to have different levels of impact. So one brand won't necessarily compare with the next.
Mm-hmm.
Our belief is that we are on the verge of dramatic scientific information about the importance of this whole area. That it has been an area that's been understudied, and that this is kind of a keystone product. We had an individual in the last meeting that was saying he didn't know whether it was all a placebo effect or whether it was real, but his point was people were being helped by it one way or another. And even if it's a placebo, it's beneficial to have people get, over their seizures or over their mental incapacities or over the pain or over the variety of things that it has.
However, we've been seeing these results with animals. For your dogs, CBD in dogs, it regulates pain perception, inflammation, and temperature with arthritis in dogs. Anxiety, some cancer that it said cannot heal dogs from cancer, but it can certainly help reduce pain and increase appetite and stop seizures. CBD has been shown to reduce and help manage seizures brought upon by epilepsy or other genetic disorders. So that's all with dogs, so it's pretty interesting that, maybe it is a placebo effect, but with animals, apparently it is showing.
Right. It wouldn't make any sense.
It wouldn't make any sense. Yeah.
Right.
So
I believe there's a lot of reality behind it. I believe we will learn a lot more in the next 4 or 5 years. But if it can help somebody today, obviously this group is not about promoting. We're not going to be pitching a specific product. I mean, that isn't the purpose. But the purpose is trying to say, we believe we're on a threshold here of something that can help a lot of people. And we're trying to learn about good sources of information. I think before you joined, I read several comments out of this book that's called Healing with CBD. I have found it very informative to me. I got it on Amazon for like $12. It's a paperback book. And it's enlightened me in several ways. I haven't been fully through it. But I would suggest that if people are in that search mode, that we help identify the books that make a big difference from our understanding. And this is one that I have found a benefit in.
So I'm pretty much the same as you guys. I'm here kind of learning. I've tried different brands of it and stuff, but it kind of just felt like a vitamin to me that it didn't really do anything.
Mm-hmm. I will say that I have one friend, when he heard that I had interest in CBD, and he mentioned to me that he has been taking product for the last 9 months. And he said that the dosage didn't work for him initially when he was doing what was on the bottle. And then he kept hearing of other people bragging about how they were being impacted by that product that he had. And so he tried upping the dosage, and he said it made a world of difference to him. So I think everybody's body is different. We started off talking earlier this evening about how our body produces the compound. there's often deficiencies which lead to symptoms that we're trying to overcome, whether that's something severe like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, or whether that is simply pains, or whether that is, all sorts of things, seizures. I was reading one article about what they're doing with the ex-military people with PTSD, and a lot of people are finding a great amount of impact, specifically with CBD as opposed to with the marijuana. So there's so much anecdotal information out there. But the point being that it's trying to keep our body in balance, and to the degree we have a deficiency, and the phytoendocannabinoids part of it, produced by the plants as opposed to our own body, can be more effective because there aren't specific enzymes that break it down as quickly, so it lasts longer in our system. And that makes logical sense to me. And so, we're just trying to learn. And in the end of the day, we want to help people find solutions that'll work for them. The product that our company is going to come out with, we know has unique advantages. We know that it's going to be exclusive in an area. And we also know that all of the products by our company that could be impacted by it have a specific technology called liposome technology, and how it's delivered through our body that increases absorption. And we believe we're going to be the only CBD that has that attribute. It's not to sell that makes it better, but to the degree it can be more effectively absorbed by your cells, it can have a greater impact than ones where most of it is not reaching, getting to the cellular receptors.
And what are the results you're seeing, like on trials and stuff with this, or?
Well, like I said, there will be a lot of information that's presented in a couple of weeks when our product is actually launched. It's kind of being cloaked right now. We just don't know all the details. We're getting nuggets of information. But in the meantime, we're trying to learn about the competitive set. I'm not one of these people that believes, there is one product that is wonderful and everything's else shit, right? I believe that there could be a lot of different ways to get to a similar result. And I do like the idea of products that are fully tested so you understand what's in them. The nature of the CBD oil business, if you will, you just have to go back a few years ago, and there were only 7 or 8 states where it was legal. Mm-hmm. And if you think about that kind of an industry, where was the product being sold? It was being sold at the head shops, and it was, you know what I mean? And the people who were producing it were all small-time producers, and that's not to look down at people who are, creating stuff in their garage, but it is trying to say that that's different than the standards and so all of a sudden now with the Farm Bill being enacted that makes it legal in 50 states, 2019 is going to be a watershed year with thousands and thousands of products that come to the market. Mm-hmm. And some of them I was mentioning at the very beginning. I was reading a USA Today article where a bakery in Denver, where there's extraordinary interest in cannabis, mm-hmm. selling donuts that had icing that was laced with CBD oil. And I thought that is going to the ridiculous. I mean, that's trying to promote, but it's not what, you're going to eat 10 donuts so you can get your CBD,
Now you're going to have different problems. Yeah, you're going to have pain from waking.
You're going to have a sugar high. You're not going to have a marijuana high, right?
And then you take a nap.
Yeah.
But it's just this area that it's fun to be on the forefront of something. And one of the material that I was reading that I mentioned briefly, it said there were 168 clinical studies that are underway right now or that have been completed So it's often reported that there are no studies on CBD oil, and that is not true. But it is that we are at the infancy, and there will be hundreds and hundreds and thousands of studies that begin to, since it can impact so many different bodily functions, there's got to be a lot of different studies that begin to clarify the definition. It isn't like we're looking at one tiny little niche that you can study. If you have 1,000 things that it can do, you need tens of thousands of studies.
But it doesn't do anything to like prevent any of the disease or anything like that. It's just to help.
It's like treatment. Yeah, like pain relief in some way. I think that it's more of that. I don't know, but I mean, if you have certain pain receptors, I don't know. I haven't done enough, of the research, and I don't think that they've done enough of the research to really say if it has huge prevention, with anything. I think it would be like any other natural remedy or supplement. I mean, look at vitamin C. We have that. Could we say that it prevents colds? Well, possibly in larger dosages. If you're taking it consistently, it makes you less susceptible, right? Or maybe your recovery time less, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to prevent it. So it could be something similar to that. I just think there's not enough information just because it's been illegal for so long. Like the whole idea of anything coming from a marijuana or a hemp plant has been, not really studied that well. Especially now with our technology today, like with stripping of the THC and all that, they didn't have all of that before. Mm-hmm. So I think that probably is a lot of it too.
Well, why do they why sell just CBD oil where it's just the CBD, and then they also have the CBD with the THC? Then what's really the difference? What are you not getting in the one?
So the chemical of THC, the compound of THC, has many medical impacts on the body, but it also carries the high, it's the
psychoactive. Yeah.
It's what gets you the psychoactive. And there are some people who, for example, they're drug tested in their jobs, and consuming products that have THC at a level that is insufficient to get you high, but that would show up on drug tests can be a problem for some people, right? And there are many people that have an ethical issue with taking products that, give you that euphoric state as a side attribute. The CBD compound does many more things than THC, but it does different things. So they're complementary to some effect. And one of the things that we mentioned was, of the 100+ compounds that come in the CBD in full spectrum, they're really the only two that have been studied to any degree are CBD and THC. And there are all these other flavonoids and terpenes and things. I don't even understand what they are. Barbara, you'd know better. But there are all these other compounds that are in the thing, and there can be a synergistic effect between multiple things that happen, And so that's what, in the long term, needs to be studied.
Well, and they were also saying, with the our body has natural receptors for it. So with the CBD, like we can find it in food like broccoli and that kind of stuff. So there are elements of it in foods that we're already eating that our body does respond well to. So that's another thing to think about. So it just does well with our body.
Well, and I think if you just think about regular nutritional supplementation, when stuff comes from a whole food source as opposed to a synthetic. There are all these other micronutrients and minerals and stuff that impact the efficacy of it. And I think we'll find in time that there's a similar thing that's going on with some of the CBD, depending on these other compounds and the right ratios between them. But that's speculation that we don't understand at this point.
Yeah, that's a lot of information.
Well, good thing we're recording this, so you can go back and listen to it again.
Why do you need the THC then? If it's just the psychoactive, why would you need that?
I think it's more that a lot of people want that.
But isn't that like the stores, like the dispensaries or whatever? Like that's all the product that they sell has the THC.
Right.
Yeah. It's because it's very difficult to strip it completely with the technology we have. And that's without taking a lot of the natural elements. I think that was what, they were saying, right, Jay?
Right.
It's very difficult to unless, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but is our new product coming out, like, is that going to be derived? Like, I know it's the CBD oil, but it's going to be synthesized in like artificially, right? And that's how there's not going to be THC. I'm not sure.
I don't think we should talk about it until we hear it specifically. But
right, I thought they said something about that, but I don't know the difference then that would make. Like if you synthesize something, the CBD oil, somehow extracting it and then synthesizing it on your own without the THC in it, I don't know. I don't know what that does. So how it has an effect, I'm not sure, but yeah, even like the lowest amounts of THC can show up, on drug tests and things. So people in the medical field, for example, nurses and that kind of thing, if they're using it, well, basically any job, if you get tested, so that's why a lot of people are afraid to use it, even what's on the market.
Could they even like get any kind of legal repercussions? Because I guess if they're taking it for a medical reason or something, like, isn't that okay?
Well, some people get this medical marijuana card that allows legal purchase. That doesn't necessarily mean that if your job requires a drug screen, that you can be taking marijuana. You know what I mean? There could be implications between that. But certainly there is an industry around medical marijuana, and then there's recreational marijuana, which some people think there's a big overlap between those because an awful lot of people that want to recreationally use it get the medical card, right? And there's a scam in that. But then currently CBD is an entirely different compound.
Yeah.
Those stuff that includes THC.
Right.
Yeah, it impacts a lot of the same, problems in the body that you're trying to solve. And that's why CBD, there is talk that there's going to be a huge increase in the volume of CBD. There's been a huge increase in the amount of marijuana that's sold as well. But in the end of the day, they're saying that because of the lack of the high, they're expecting CBD to become a lot more in demand than the marijuana from a medical standpoint, for truly treating bodily issues.
Yeah, now that it's legalized in all 50 states. Yeah. So that's why they're predicting that. They're predicting this huge increase in usage. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. And we'll see what comes out, because there's going to be, like, as a result of this legalization now in all 50 states, that there are going to be a lot of different products available.
Right.
And people are really going to capitalize on that. So you do have to be very selective in what you try,
right.
And be very aware of what it is that you're exactly looking for, how it works in the body, the different parts, the cannabinoids in the different parts of the
Right.
plant and what you're getting. You have to really do your research on that prior to investing in something.
To some degree, I am a marketer by trade. I'll preface it by saying that. And you have to be a little bit cautious when there's a boom market like this, because there will be people that will try to make their product proprietary and unique in some way by giving stuff a name. I can remember when I was growing up, an Esso gasoline supposedly had some kind of a component in it that was like cleaning the inside of your engine every time it was burning gas, supposedly. And they had some special name for that. And they tried to make a big deal out of that. And it was really no different than any other gasoline, but they just branded it, And so we need to be cautious when people start talking about unique attributes. If there are a myriad of ways of extracting, which we know there are, and there are some that have benefits because they're less disruptive to the good stuff, then we should understand that, and we should try to find products that are done to the best as opposed to the harsh chemicals. And one of the things that I understand is that it may be the case that lower temperature extraction has benefits relative to the higher temperature extraction that's commonly used. And so I think that we'll find some products that utilize that. I have no idea at this point what the product that our company is going to offer is, and I hope that it's a good one. I hope that, it has specific advantages. I know that it's going to have liposome, and I know that liposome technology is very beneficial to many of the nutritional supplements that we have, because it raises absorption from 10 or 20% to 85, 95%, right? And if you're going to be paying for something, you want it to get into the cells, you don't want it to go out with your waste, right? I mean, literally pissing away money.
That's funny.
I'm sorry. I should have said that. Funny. Public recording. But at any rate, we're just exploring. We're trying to share ideas. We're trying to learn from people's experiences, and we're trying to be helpful to people because life is hard enough without a lot of health issues that can be prevented, or pains and, issues, sleep issues.
Mm-hmm.
We all want to be vitalized. We want to live with high, levels of energy and be able to have our full mental capacity, our full physical capacity, our full emotional capacity. And to the degree something like CBD oil may be able to be beneficial to a large, if everyone were in a perfect state of health, this is something that regulates the homeostasis in your body. So if most people were at homeostasis, there wouldn't be much demand for it. The reality is we are a drug-induced, meaning pharmacological drug. So many people are taking so many things. So many people are taking over-the-counter things to try to overcome issues with sleep, with pain, with all sorts of things. And then we have the diseases at the fringes, like the Alzheimer's and the Parkinson's disease and Crohn's, and if there is something that is natural, that is naturally being produced within our body, and we can help our body produce more of that, and we can stay at that homeostasis more, we will have less physical issues to be addressing in once the disease sets in. And that's where we all want to be. And I'm hopeful, you think about the medical advances over the last decade, let alone the last 25, 50 years, it's growing logarithmically, and it's not going to be that long until, they have most of it all figured out, and they're able to just zap you with some kind of a thing and look at your genomics and determine what you specifically need and concoct it, and everybody will be kept kind of where they need. It's the Star Trek kind of things, but I think that we'll get there. I don't know that we'll get there in my lifetime, but I sure am seeing a lot of advances. But something like CBD oil may be a huge stepping stone toward putting people overcoming a lot of the issues that we don't know how to treat without harsh drugs today, I guess is the way I would characterize it.
Mm.
If it can be that beneficial, it's going to be a huge business because drugs are so harmful and they are so expensive, and it'd be wonderful to have a natural solution.
Now, with the stuff that you guys have coming out down the line or whatnot, is that going to have THC in it?
No, 0.0%.
So would it be like a full spectrum? What they use that word?
That's our understanding, or broad spectrum. I don't know the legal definitional difference. I don't know if full spectrum means it has to include the THC. I know ours is reported to be 0.0%, even though you can have 0.3% and still be legal under the Farm Bill. I know ours is going to be entirely devoid of THC.
I mean, if you want to know like a product that I did use that sorta, if I'm going to say any of them sorta worked, did you ever hear of Ultracell?
Ultra?
Cell?
No, I have not.
Okay. So I went onto their website and they were like, oh, you won like a trial, right? So, you know. So, but they actually sent it out to me. It was a free trial bottle. And I used it for about a month. And
was it an oil drop on the tongue, or how did?
Yeah, a tincture or whatever they call it. I don't know what they call that. Is that how you say that? Is that what it's called?
I'm not sure.
When it drops on the tongue and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that is.
And how did it taste, Tracy? I've heard about some stuff is very green grass hay, and others so bad.
Yeah, I've tried a bunch of them. Some of them have been just like it tastes like you're drinking like olive oil or something. But this one it tasted like like lemon juice. And I think that's what it maybe wasn't so much the texture, because I'm sure it was still oily, but just the taste of it made it way easier. So, but that one I would say out of any that I've tried just like hemp oil, which I don't know what the difference is between that and CBD oil, if it's the same thing or what exactly that is. But I didn't see any difference. And I've tried like stronger strengths. The Ultracell was 750 milligrams. And that, like, I have fibromyalgia and rheumatoid arthritis, and I suffer from migraines, and then I also have neuropathy. So I've been trying to get help for a really long time, and so I'm basically just, I've tried everything, and I'm going broke going to doctors and doing, different, I've had different procedures. I think I had 4 back procedures. I had 2 neck procedures. I've had the Botox for the migraines 3 times, and it didn't do anything, and that cost me $1,250 each time. So I'm now like researching all of this, and I'm at this point where maybe I should go for the medical marijuana, or because I'm not really getting help anywhere else. So I, kind of feel helpless at a point,
Well, I certainly hope that you can find something that is affordable that can work well for you. You sound like an ideal candidate from what I've been reading of the areas that get help generally by CBD without the THC. I mean, and if you're interested in going for medical marijuana, that's an entirely personal decision. But from what I have read, a lot of the things that you just mentioned can be dramatically helped by the appropriate CBD. And the question is, getting you one that really works, you know?
Right.
That's an
And like
option.
I say, yeah, I've tried different other ones. I've tried, it was a website called Pure CBD.
I'm aware of that.
Now, my girlfriend took it and she was just taking it for anxiety and it helped her tremendously. But I was taking the same stuff and I didn't feel any different. Like, so.
Well, I mean, I think that it just depends too on the person and what your mental state is, like how a lot of these things interact, you know, what your emotional state and what your physical state, like all of those things, I think play a role in the effect of any kind of either psychoactive drug or a supplement too, you know, like your body chemistry is always going to be affected by what's going on mentally, physically, and emotionally. And when you're adding things to it in certain combinations, either supplement based or medication based or whatever, your body's going to react in certain ways, you know, and emotional state does play a big role because like I know people who have done marijuana when they were younger and then they tried it again when they were older, but they were at different emotional points in their life, you know. One time they were using it when they were younger, just as recreation, have fun, and it calmed them down, you know, whatever. But then later on in life, when they had, you know, like a serious thing happen where a stressful event occurred, they were trying to kind of escape, it actually had the opposite effect on them. And it made them more anxious and paranoid or whatever. So, I mean, I think that there's something to that as well, like your overall physical condition, your mental and emotional condition, whenever you're taking anything. You know, and how that's going to have an effect. And that's why sometimes for some people, it's going to work in different ways depending on what their condition is. And also, you know, I don't know if there's a one size fits all for everybody with every condition, you know? So, but I mean, I would definitely try a lot of, I don't know if you've been trying like a lot of things with nutrition and your diet and overall like with other alternative, not even alternative, but, you know, exercise and yoga and stretching and all of those things. I'm sure you've probably tried a lot of different things, but
Yeah. I mean, like I used to be like really active and like I was a competitive gymnast and everything. And then I got in a car accident, which like messed up my neck and my spine. And then like trying to keep doing it, like I was doing more damage. And then like I found out about the arthritis and then down the line I found out because I was still having pain that it was fibromyalgia. So I mean, I'm just like hoping to get off some of this medicine. It's just.
Have you had the epidural shots in your neck?
Yeah.
And
I had that. Yeah. That lasted not even 30 days for like relief. And it wasn't even like the full 30 days that I didn't have pain. It was like I was having breakthroughs where I was having pain. But yeah, within 30 days, it was like back full force. Like it came back with like a vengeance. Like, you know, here I am, I'm back, you know, like, so.
Oh, geez.
Well, I will say that you seem to be a unique and ideal case for a person that if they found the right thing, I mean, you've had so many different symptoms that you're trying to address.
Right.
You know, I like I said, this is not about trying to promote what we're going to have. I'm very anxious to learn about the specifics of what we have because I'm being told it's going to be totally unique and different from what's available currently. And potentially we have something that has a benefit that could be helpful to you. And so we will certainly follow up at a point when, you know, there's something that might be able to benefit you because, you know, it's one thing. It's not like I don't have issues in my life. I have a lot of issues in my life.
We all do.
I don't have the same kind of things that you do. And so, you know, I do have some pains. And I will be trying when our product comes out and seeing what happens with my pain, you know. But it isn't like I have the multitude of symptoms that it, and I'm sure that there isn't going to be one thing that solves everything.
Right.
But if it could knock off 4 or 5 of the things that you talked about, that would be a huge advantage.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, if I could just get like one thing, like, you know how there's always like 2 things that are really bad, like my neck and my head, like my headaches and then like my neck. They're like the worst. If I could just get one of them knocked out, I feel like I could get my life back. You know, it sucks, you know, but you know, I got to keep going. So just hoping that, you know, when do you think your product's coming out? Do you know?
The end of the month.
Yeah.
We have it.
Early February, we will certainly have it. Barbara's going to have some before I am, because she's going to go pick it up herself.
Yeah. Getting released at our conference at the end of the month. So, yeah.
Okay.
So, so we'll
Yeah,
see. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But it's been interesting the last couple of weeks learning about everything, you know, and seeing what's out there and seeing what kinds of pains people are having and using it for, and positives and negatives, you know. So we'll definitely keep everybody posted with new stuff that, like in our meetup group, you know, we've been posting different things, you know, tidbits of information as we learn about different products or different research, you know, on the market and how it's being used. So hopefully we can keep that going. And the more people that we have who are specialists in the area, maybe join our group. You know, we could have speakers, maybe doctors or pharmacists, or other people in the medical profession come on and give their input to different things as well. So that would be helpful.
So we appreciate everybody joining us tonight. We're at the hour mark, and so I think we pretty much covered it. I appreciate participation. We're going to try and do this every few weeks, so we'll arrange it around the time that you know, Barbara is away. We'll figure out the next meeting time. But a couple of months we'll be doing, and we hope you found some value and will choose to come back and invite your friends.
All right. Thank you so much, guys.
You're welcome. I'm going to be posting this recording in our group, so look for the link.
Okay. All right. Thank you.